that is the dream case scenario. Every single 4 out of 10 women out there wants to be with the 7 out of 10 blue-pilled guy. Because if that 7 out of 10 guy was red-pilled or black-pilled on terms of his value, then as soon as he was in the presence of that lower-tier woman, then he would see that and think, you know what? I can do way better than this. I'm not going to entertain even speaking to this woman because I know that she's not on my level. I'm going to wait until a 7 out of 10 comes along and she finds me attractive and I'm going to date her. Okay guys, and welcome back to another video on Honest Waffles. And today I'm going to be talking about the frankly dire situation that I'm seeing many men in their current relationships or potentially even marriages, God forbid, where they've essentially settled for some average to below average women, a woman who's at least 2 points beneath her in terms of SMV. And I think this is a very relevant video to make. In fact, I wasn't even planning on making this video. As you can see right now, there's a bit of a change of scenery. As you can see on camera, I'm in somewhere elsewhere to my usual recording space. And that is because I'm actually on holiday right now. And I even promised myself before this holiday that I wasn't going to make any videos. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take a nice week, chill, relax, get out of my system. I'm not going to worry about producing any more videos, any more content or value for you guys. I'm just going to take this week to relax and ease myself. But after what I've seen in the last couple days, I felt compelled that if no one else is going to make a video about this, someone is going to have to, and that person is going to be me. The standards that men are holding for women nowadays in terms of their dating choices are frankly abysmal. They're non-existent, to be exact. They are picking up whatever, as I've already mentioned. And just to give a couple examples, the tipping point for why I even made this video in the first place was because I literally just came back from dinner. It's been 5 minutes since I've been down there and seen the state of the situation that I've just came from, and it took me 5 minutes to turn on this camera and record. There was this man who I would estimate about 6 in terms of facial attractiveness. I didn't get a good look of his height or build, but you know, just let's assume his average SMV. So I would say a 6 out of 10, high tier normie. And the woman sitting opposite him, max 4 out of 10, max. Her body fat percentage at least 25%. Obviously, I didn't get the tape measure out or the weighing scales out, but you could spot a mile off that the difference in SMV was massive between these two people. And no, before anyone chips in, these weren't brother and sister or friends, whatever. It was quite clearly that they're on a romantic date and they're in a relationship together. And they were only the same age as me as well. I would estimate somewhere, 21, 22 potentially. They were young guys, and this just highlights how bad the problem is getting, because usually when it comes to guys' dating standards, they drop over time. So most guys, when they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, they have their expectations set high. They're like, you know what, I'm going to try and date the creme de la creme, the hottest girls available. I'm going to, go for the most attractive women that I see. However, as time goes by, those men come to the realization after getting rejected 100 times, actually, you know what? The 8s and 9s never were really for me. It's time to drop down to the 4s, 5s, and later, potentially even 3s. If worse comes to worse, come my early 30s, I'm going to have to settle at some point. So it's going to have to be the overweight women who have no self-respect of their appearance and, would never get in top tier shape for a man like me. That's essentially what guys come down the conclusion as they get older. But it seems that the rate of those standards, that standard plummet that guys have over time, the duration that it takes men to reach that conclusion that the best they're going to get is some woman who's 2 points below them, they're reaching that conclusion way sooner now. Guys that are 20, 21, their standards are dropping like flies, essentially. They're going for whatever woman comes their way, the first woman that looks in their direction, and it's just a terrible sight to see. And it actually makes the whole situation worse for all of us guys who actually have standards and want to approach good-looking girls, because as soon as those attractive girls who are on our level see that there's guys who are higher up dating below average women, then those attractive women are going to think, you know what, okay, that means that I can get guys who are now above me, so I'm not going to go for the guys who are actually on my level, because if those lower tier women were able to date 2 points up, then why can't I date 2 points up? So the whole system is a race to the bottom, and you already know most of this stuff anyway, because I've covered the material more in depth on the main channel. You can check out those videos. But as for today's content, without repeating too much stuff that I've already said on the main channel, I'm going to be delving deep into why this is happening, why this is embarrassing, and why men need to frankly get their finger out and stop letting their standards slip away, actually have some self-respect and date women who are actually on their level. So we're going to be getting into the main bulk of this content now. But just one more thing quickly. This is going to be the final advertisement in this video for my Looksmaxxing program. As you most guys have seen in the last couple of videos, I've been pushing this quite extensively. I've recently released my Looksmaxxing program and community, where it's all things that you can do to Looksmax in 24 hours by 2 points. You can see the evidence on the screen here, and the 100% optimized system is the video, no fancy editing tricks or morphs or Photoshop being done to any of these. You can see the description video below where I explain more in depth what material was actually entailed in the program. You can check it out below if you're interested, or if you are happy with the results right away, the discount is still available below for the pre-sale. So if you think that it's going to be valuable and you know straight up that I'm a honest YouTuber, then you can click the link below now to purchase straight away. Or if you want to actually get a glimpse into what's going to be part of the program, then click the description video and you'll be taken down to the explainer of it. So now let's get into the actual chunk of the main stuff, the main topic that we're going to be talking about. And the first point that I have on the screen here is that men in relationships with overweight women, put simply, they should be embarrassed. They should be embarrassed. It highlights their lack of self-respect, and it also highlights the lack of respect that the woman has for the man. So there's 2 points. I'll address both of them individually. We'll start with the second one, about how it highlights the lack of respect that the woman has for the man. So the way that this goes is that if a woman is in a relationship with a guy, you would expect her to want to please the guy, to make him happy, to make him, feel validated, to make him feel high self-esteem and attracted, and she would do everything in her power to make that man feel as positive emotions as he possibly can. However, the fact that a woman is overweight, it insinuates that she is essentially neglecting that requirement and that need for the desires that man has. The fact that she's overweight, put simply, it means that she is choosing food and her love of taste and dopamine over the emotions and feelings of the man and the self-respect that he would have to want to be with an attractive woman. She is choosing her love of taste and food over the man's needs, and that's what it comes down to. Obviously that's quite a black and white point that I've stated right there, but you can understand how that makes sense, because I think most of you guys will agree who are watching this right now, that a woman in a relationship with you would want her to do everything that she possibly can to make you happy, to make you feel good about yourself. And if she doesn't do those things, then that essentially highlights that she's not putting in the work, she's not putting in effort to make you happy. She cares more about herself and her own feelings. She's putting her wants and desires above the desires of yours, which, is that a respectful thing to do for a woman in a relationship? I would say no, and that's why I'm coming to this conclusion that men in relationships with overweight women should be embarrassed about it, because not only does it diminish the attraction that you have for that woman and it makes you less satisfied with your partner, but as for everyone else watching around you, they're seeing your woman who's overweight and not taking care of herself, and it's, that's another point altogether, the fact that she's letting her own health standards slip away. But when they look at you as a couple, they're going to be thinking, okay, this woman is not putting in any effort to her appearance or her body, so she clearly doesn't care that much about the guy. She knows that he's not going to be leaving anytime soon, because she feels no sense of urgency to put herself in better shape or anything like that. I hope you get the idea of the point where I'm going to. And to give the bottom line on this point, what it essentially comes down to is, when it comes to who has the power in this relationship, if it's the man or the woman, a lot of people who are ignorant would incorrectly say that the man has the power in this relationship, such as the two pictured on the screen here now. That the woman is overweight, therefore she's going to be begging and pleading the man to stay because, he has all of the say in the relationship. She's the less attractive one, so it means that the man has no power. However, when you look at a little bit more deeper and you read between the lines, you actually notice that it's the opposite. It's the man that has less power, because the woman is able to abuse her body, neglect her health, and essentially still get away with it, because the man is content to stay in that relationship. He's not going anywhere, and the fact that he's allowed this woman, and both are bad as each other, whether the woman's started off overweight in the couple, or, if even worse, I would potentially argue, the woman started out in good shape and then she let herself go, then that means that the man has done absolutely nothing over the entire time of that relationship to try and stop it. The woman's essentially caused a bunch of carnage and neglected her body, and the man has said, you know what, I'm not going to do anything about this, I'm not going to address it to her. He's let it get to this level of terrible, and he's done nothing about it, which shows the lack of respect that she has for him and the lack of respect that the man has for himself, because he is completely afraid to stand his ground in his relationship and implement standards, tell his woman what behaviour is and isn't acceptable. And the fact that he's let it get this bad shows that he's not willing to back himself in the relationship and believe in the value that he has, because he's afraid if he ever brings up that conversation, it's very possible that she might leave. That's what he's thinking in his mind. And this kind of leads into the second point, because it shows the lack of respect, of self-respect that he has for himself. Because if he actually valued himself and his own value of what he's bringing to the table, then he would never let these issues get this bad, and he would understand that it's frankly not tolerable for the woman that he's dating in a long-term relationship to neglect her body like this. He would want to do everything in his power to either make the problem resolve and fix her appearance, or he would stand up for himself and say, you know what, if you're not going to budge, if you're not going to try to make amends to the lack of care that you've put into your appearance, then I'm out. I'm going to go for some other options, some other women who are actually on my level, and they're the women that I'm going to try and pursue because I know that I can attain them based on what I'm bringing to the table. That's what it comes down to. And that's why I'm making this point about why men in relationships with overweight women should be embarrassed, because it is implicitly saying that they've thrown in the towel and they have no self-belief in their own value and the options that they could potentially obtain if they put in some approaches and put in the effort that is required. And obviously the dating market is a scary place for men, because most guys have no options and it's more or less a desert. They wouldn't be able to get another girlfriend for potentially weeks, even if they drop their standards. So that's why a lot of men end up dropping their standards and going for whichever women that they could get. It's because they have no self-belief that if they were back in the dating market, that they would have an easy time and they would be able to find another woman who's closer to their level, if not ideally on their level. And it has this element of cowardice to it, because a man who reaches this conclusion and he thinks, you know what, even though I personally believe that I'm a 6 out of 10 and I bring a lot to the table, I've got XYZ boxes ticked, even though I know that I have all of these highly desirable attributes, because I've been unsuccessful so far in the dating market, I'm going to drop my standards. I'm going to go for whichever woman comes my way, even if she's overweight and I know deep down that I'm way above her. I'm going to do that anyway, because I'm afraid, I'm scared of being in this situation for potentially the next 5 years of my life. However, the point that I'm trying to make is, if that same guy was a little bit more patient and he had faith in the value that he's bringing to the table, then after he approaches enough women and he tries a bunch of different methods, and, you know, he's doing cold approaches occasionally, he's looking at the women in his warm environments, his circles, if he got all of those boxes ticked and he tried a different approaching environments, then just by the law of probabilities, chances are he's eventually going to find a woman who's on his level. However, the fact that he's not willing to go to those lengths and pass those barriers to entry shows his cowardice, because he would rather concede early and throw in the towel and think, you know what, even though I've given it a stab, I've approached 3 girls and got rejected all 3 times, instead of sticking at it and going for another 50 times, I might as well just drop my standards now. I'm going to go for the next woman that comes my way, even if I know that she's not actually as attractive as me. And this gets into the next point of the video, the second chapter that I have, which is how this also is related to the wider society and their influence on how men end up reaching this conclusion. And this is essentially my warning to all of you men watching, no matter what age you are, that as time goes by, this could potentially even become more relevant, because you need to not listen to any of society's blue pill propaganda and delusions of how they are trying to corner you and force you into a trap to not understand your true value, and they want you to date women that are significantly beneath you in terms of SMV, because they want men to comply. They want men to invest in women in families, even if they're below average, because society only cares about women. And if a woman is dating a 6 out of 10 man and she's a 4 out of 10 herself, then obviously that's a great thing for her, but as a man, that's a terrible thing for you, because you're dating down 2 points. But society doesn't care about that. Society only cares about the women, and they want women to be satisfied, and they don't care about men being satisfied in relationships. And even in my own experience, I can tell you that for these couples that I know in my own life, where a man is a 6 out of 10 and he's dating a 4 out of 10 woman, even in those situations where there's a huge disparity in terms of value between the man and the woman, the man will still be told that he's so lucky to have her, that he's found one in a million, that she's a princess, and he should never let her go. He should never look at other girls, because he should just be content. In fact, not content, because that's insinuating that she is beneath him, but he should be proud and happy that he's been able to attract this magnificent and beautiful woman, almost as if she's a 10 out of 10, when quite obviously she's not. She's actually a 4 out of 10 woman. Meanwhile, for the woman, the people that will be whispering in her ear, so her friends, her family, etc., even though she's a 4 out of 10, they're going to be whispering to her, oh, you should dump him. Oh, you could probably do better than him. You're, so much better than him, and he should be thankful and lucky to have you. That's what society, her friends and family, will be telling her, because the difference between what men and women, the treatment that they receive about their dating value, and what society tells them, is that women is quite simple. All women are queens. No matter if she's a 3 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, there is no such thing as objective beauty. It's just a blanket statement that all women are attractive, everyone's on the same 10 out of 10 level, and there's no differential between each level of women. That's what women are told, and because women are fed those lies, they all feel entitled that they deserve the best guys. And even if they're dating up by 2-3 points, it doesn't matter, because they can still do better than that, because they're all queens and they're all 10 out of 10s. Meanwhile, men, even if they're high value, they're told, oh, you should go for the first women that you can attract. You should go for anything, don't have any standards, because you might not have another opportunity again. You'll be lucky to get whatever you can. You might as well just pick and grab whatever you can get your hands on. That's what men are told, and it's almost like men are getting their self-esteem suppressed. Meanwhile, women's self-esteem is being artificially inflated so high that it's almost getting to the point of delusion. And this is why I'm coming to the main point of the video, which is that society doesn't want men to know that, because when you think about a woman who potentially might be unattractive, if she's a 4 or 5 out of 10, her dream case scenario is that there is a guy out there who believes all of this propaganda and doesn't believe in his actual self-worth. He is a 7 out of 10 in true terms, but he is told that he's lower value. He's more like a 4, which insinuates that he's actually on the woman's level. That is the dream case scenario. Every single 4 out of 10 women out there wants to be with the 7 out of 10 blue-pilled guy. Because if that 7 out of 10 guy was red-pilled or black-pilled on terms of his value, then as soon as he was in the presence of that lower-tier woman, then he would see that and think, you know what? I can do way better than this. I'm not going to entertain even speaking to this woman because I know that she's not on my level. I'm going to wait until a 7 out of 10 comes along and she finds me attractive, and I'm going to date her. That is the difference. And that's why society wants men to be blue-pilled, and they want you to date down. They want you to make women happy and satisfied at the expense of your own value of what you can achieve. And this potentially explains of why I believe we've seen an increase in the number of men that have been putting their standards through the floor, dating whatever women they can, even if they're 2-3 points beneath them. And that is why the final message of this video is, as the words read out exactly on the screen, I want all of you men to not listen to any of society's blue pill propaganda and delusion. Know your value, know what you can attract, know your SMV to an exact decimal point, and then from there, try to date across. Don't settle for anything less. Don't be one of those guys that throws in the towel early and picks up and wifes up the first woman that comes his way, even though she's a couple points below him. Be patient and make sure you're dating a woman who is actually on your level.